Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream this Sunday. Well, it's not really stream, is it? It's a recording, but I wanted to do a little bit of update on where we are now astrologically and what to expect in the next few months. This won't include anything about Russia-Ukraine. That's coming in a different broadcast. But what do we have? We've got Saturn going retrograde in Aquarius, and Uranus is moving forward in Taurus. So these two are going to approach a square, which will culminate kind of October time. And I think the madness is only going to increase. And I've got a couple of slides or screenshots that I want to share with you just to illustrate in which direction I think we will be going. So if you're new to my stream, I never really do welcomes and things like that. I tend to just go straight into it, and I end rather abruptly as well. Sometimes I find it a little bit yeah, if you watch someone regularly, you don't always need to hear the greeting, but I appreciate sometimes they're new people on the stream. So if you're wondering what this is all about, it's astrology and politics. There are times when I'll only talk about astrology, and there are times when I'll only talk about politics, but usually we get a little bit of mismatch. So we go through all the political machinations that are going on, usually from a kind of populist stroke, what people would call conspiratorial angle, and we look at what the planets are saying and try and decipher what this could mean, directions, predictions, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so the first little slide that I want to go to here is from Twitter. It's from this guy called Tim Spector, who was, I think he's Imperial King's College professor kind of thing, and he used to be mainly into diet. If you look back, he'd done mainly books on diet, but at the start of COVID, he started this app called the Zoe app. I don't know where he got this name from. And it is just basically a forum for hypochondriacs to send in their symptoms, and then he says this is all COVID. Yeah, I'm paraphrasing there. You know, I get frustrated because they'll always underplay the yellow card reporting system here, and in America, I've forgotten what they call it there, their reporting system for adverse reactions. They'll underplay that and say, oh, well, it's anecdotal. It hasn't been checked out by doctors. Nothing's been followed up, so we can't really rely on those figures. But then with Tim Spector, his app is totally anecdotal. It's just random people that send him their symptoms who on the app. And it's also not followed through. It's also not checked out. It's also just totally a person's opinion on how they feel, and it's anecdotal. It's not actually solid medical evidence. And yet, the media will continually quote and refer to this as gospel. So this is him tweeting yesterday. In the UK, he says there are nearly 340,000 estimated, keyword here, daily cases today, as all areas of the UK are still rising other than Scotland, which may have peaked. By early next week, we'll be in new record territory. This doesn't bode well for the expected bigger autumn wave. Thanks for supporting and logging on to Zoe. Yeah, people. Thanks for feeding the monster by logging on to this ridiculous app and basically contributing to fear porn and contributing to the government agenda. It's basically volunteering to be a useful idiot. Now, first of all, cases. What cases? Are people just at a bit of a temperature? Did they really feel unwell? Were they chronically ill? Did they present to hospital? Did they die? If people are just experiencing very mild symptoms, is there a problem? Because I think just saying cases means absolutely nothing. And yet they show these graphs and things are going up and things are going down and they're waves. It's just to keep the whole thing going. Now, with the whole Saturn-Uranus thing, the drive for more authoritarianism, more control, and more of the Great Reset being enacted, they need to keep this thing going. And that's why there's going to be a lot of pressure. That's why he's dipping in. Oh, autumn. Ooh, scare, autumn. Because these two planets are going to be square again in the autumn in the Northern Hemisphere in October, and they really want to have another wave going by them because a huge amount has been invested. I know there was an analyst a while ago in San Diego where a lot of these factories for the mRNA technology are, and that's I think where Robert Malone was working in San Diego. They've built the factories, they've built the assembly lines, they're all good to go. You know, the investment has been made, so they are anticipating that there will be further demand generating. And this guy is just a marketer, really. He's just using this app to generate demand by generating statistics which might look like a crisis to the ill-informed who don't question it more. If we go over here, this was an interesting article about the construction of the Mickleham quarantine camp, which they started building August last year. And it's really big. There will be 1,000-bed accommodation, and they say it's for returning travelers. But if you look at the site there, it's rather big. I don't want that, thank you. So in Australia, they're still building these quarantine centres, and I believe they're doing it in Canada. They're not investing in all this for nothing. They're obviously anticipating further waves in which there might be more stringent kind of requirements, and maybe people will be taken out their homes for isolation. We don't really know. I gather, well, I can honestly say that Boris Johnson was probably removed because he wasn't getting too hysterical about COVID. He didn't want to lock us down over Christmas, where a lot of other people are pushing for it. So they probably would like a government like a Lib Dem, Labour and SNP coalition, because they know they'll lock down the drop of a hat, which they would want, wouldn't they? Yahoo News today, the latest subvariant of the novel coronavirus to become dominant in Europe and the United States is something called the Ninja virus. And it's a subvariant of Omicron, and it appears to be more contagious, guys, than any previous form, and better than dodging antibodies. You know, I don't have to break all that down. You guys know it's just nonsense. Vaccines and boosters, however, are still the best defense, right? So they just want to keep these things going. It's a wonderful way of diverting taxpayers' money to corporations, apart from anything else. Anyway, so that's the new scariant that they've got going, the new Ninja COVID variant. It's the most dangerous. Why is it dangerous? Because it's more contagious? Well, more contagious is nothing really, unless it's actually causing people to become seriously ill. But okay, I won't say any more of that on YouTube, but you guys know what that probably is. It's just another variant. Oh, it's funny how now Omicron's got a life of its own. First we had different variants of COVID. Now COVID's sort of gone, and this cousin, I don't know, never existed, maybe. Now there's this Omicron thing, which is developing variant after variant after variant. Just thought I'd show you this tweet. This is New Zealand here, and it says, with nearly 85% of its entire population vaccinated and continued mask mandates in most indoor settings, New Zealand now has the world's highest case rate. So there you go. I think this is kind of on the theme that mask mandates don't do a damn thing to stop cases. But, you know, there's two ways of looking at it. You can say, yeah, masks don't work great. But then again, a lot of us on the other side believe that the current cases are not driven by anything that's being transmitted in the air. It's being driven by the depletion of the immune system, because you know why. So that's kind of interesting, but it's also disinformation, because it's perpetuating the idea that it's something out there circulating rather than something internal, right? Okay, let's look at this one. This is the Defender and RFK's excellent website. It says, Pfizer asks court to dismiss whistleblower lawsuit because government was aware of fraud. So in an interview with the Defender, the lawyer representing whistleblower Brooke Jackson said Pfizer's arguing that the court should dismiss her lawsuit alleging fraud in Pfizer's COVID-19 clinical trials because the US government knew about the wrongdoing but continued to do business with the vaccine maker anyway. That is an interesting take on it. It's like, well, you know, it's okay to do fraud as long as the UK government, if it doesn't worry about them and they still do business, so it's not concerning them, well, it shouldn't concern you. It's all fine, actually. So you may want to read that article there. I'll put a link to it, but that's quite interesting. And then am I going to finish? Oh, that was Gemma and John Waters' case. I think that's all I wanted to talk about. So excuse me. So basically, as this whole Uranus and Saturn square draw ever closer together as we get to October, there's going to be an upping of the ante, especially regarding this COVID thing. It's still got legs, and as you can see by the amount of people who are obviously participating in Tim Spector's Zoe app, there's a huge constituency out there that are still keen to take boosters, to buy into the narrative, to test themselves, and who are still fully on board. And they're not going to let that group go. It's a very large constituency still, unfortunately. We can see by the numbers there. So they want to push that narrative. You know, and as we've got Uranus, the Saturn square, we've got two forces that are potentially very right-wing and authoritarian pushing up against each other. Because a lot of people call Uranus right-wing. I see Uranus more as freedom-loving, more spontaneous, more into a more libertarian force coming up, locking horns with Saturn, which to me typifies World Economic Forum, the cult, the cabal. I mean, Saturn is their planet. Let's be honest, it's the planet of the cabal, the Satanists, exactly. So that's coming up against this Uranian force in Taurus, which is the sign of revolution. Uranus in Taurus is revolution. So we've got these two strong forces going at it. Because like now it's gone a bit calmer. That's why they're going to up the ante, but our side's going to up the ante as well. So that's why I think things are going to get crazier as they get more and more desperate. And you've got to wonder what's going on. We've got the head of OPEC, the Nigerian guy who died suddenly with the shooting of Shinzo Abe. The jury's out of whether he's good, bad, or indifferent, but, you know, and we've got Draghi, Mario Draghi, in big trouble. We've got Rutte, which is facing a lot of protests. Whether they can dislodge him, what we don't know. How secure he is in the position, probably quite secure. And then we've got Boris gone and a new World Economic Forum puppet looking to take the reins. So we're wondering what's going to happen here in the UK. But there's a kind of shuffling of the pack in terms of getting rid of a few leaders and moving some other leaders into position. So I think on their side, they are getting ready to reboot their whole strategy and they want some different leaders in place. Shinzo Abe, I think, wasn't the current PM or president in Japan, but he was campaigning. So they obviously didn't want him back in. They prefer someone else. So there's, like I say, a little bit of shuffling of the pack. We wait to see what happens with Biden, because I really don't know how much further they can push this with him at the helm. I'm really thinking there's got to be some change there, and we might see it as we get nearer the Pluto return in America. Okay, hope you enjoyed that. Have a lovely day, particularly those of you who enjoy the sun. If you don't like the heat, stay indoors, keep cool, drink loads of fluids, and let's sit it out.